Hi, welcome to Ladies Night. I'm Aisha.
Hi, I'm Ty.
I'm Tansy.
Hi, I'm Alexis.
And let's get started. Tonight we are talking about financial obligations in relationships. So I think this will, be a good night. So Tan, you want to start?
Good night. So, the posting from the Shade Room.
Oh, okay.
The poster from the Shade Room said, hold on.
It says women should be financially taken care of in a relationship. Your woman shouldn't have to worry about paying a damn thing. Excuse my language. If you cannot afford to take care of a woman completely, don't date or pursue a woman until you can. The woman is the prize. Pay for it.
So when I seen this post, I instantly had the thought, like, whoever created that is crazy. I'm a firm believer in, not saying everything has to be 50-50, but, I do believe that the woman should help, with stuff financially. You don't have to pay for the whole thing. Yeah, I know in the Bible it says that, and then we were grown, the man should be the provider and stuff. But I think that we should, I really think that it should definitely go both ways.
Is the biblical way the man supposed to be the provider, or is he supposed to be the head
of the house?
Yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean that. I mean, I'm sure that in some way means that he should provide for the home, but that just necessarily means that he's the head and everything follows under him. Like it's a trickling down effect. So I think it definitely should be teamwork in your household. It shouldn't be put on one person. Now, if that's the agreement that you have in your household, then yeah, okay, of course. But everybody can't afford that during this day and time. Now, our grandmothers, that's the life they live, but
I think that every situation, this applies to each situation differently because not everybody's financial obligations are the same as others. So, in one situation that what that post reads can apply to, but it can't apply to every situation. Me personally, I don't agree with the post at all. I just feel like, what's the thrill of finding a companion and building with that person if you feel as though that they are solely financially responsible of you?
So that means you can never treat them like, because if you have that mindset, then you're never going to pay for anything. So what about birthday trips or surprising them with anything? Like those little things matter to them too. Like they want to be treated and spoil you just as much as we do. So.
But then you get some situations with the guys, with men, that they don't want their woman to work. Like they don't want them to work. If they
that's why I said every situation is different, and that's
it applies to different households.
If a man is in a situation and he don't want his woman to work, then that's totally fine.
Okay, but this, I'm sorry, Ty, go ahead.
Yeah, because Mike was like, "I don't want you to work, sir." Thanks, but no thanks. Okay, I want my own money. Thank you.
Yeah.
No.
Right, because I don't want to speak anything of, especially in my household, but you never know what happens. So what if you guys have to, split for God knows whatever, and you've been dependent upon this person all of that time, then how do you land back on your 2 feet? Like, it's been so long, you used to stay at home dealing with the children and, doing your own little thing. How do you get back on your feet if this man just say, I'm ready to leave? And this post is coming from a female's perspective. This is not even a male.
A male's perspective.
This is a female.
And honestly, that post kind of kind of puts us in a bad position because there's a lot of men out here who already feel that they can't potentially be who, you know, a lot of women want because of the financial aspect. Like, you know, they can't talk to a certain type of woman because they don't have a certain type of job, or they don't make this amount of money, or so it kind of puts us in a bad place because the post goes along with, you know, how some of them already think. A lot of men think women are just gold diggers. They just want what they can get out of situations. So, I mean, it's only up to us to be able to, you know, the good ones out here to say, you know, no, that's definitely not what we're looking for at all. I mean, it's an asset to have somebody, you know, who can work and provide and do things in the household, but I don't want to be solely dependent on only that.
Yeah,
because in the event that something happens to him and he's unable to provide, then what you gonna do?
Because you at this point don't know how to.
Exactly.
Right.
That's a setup.
But you know, in situations, sometimes that happens, and a lot of times that happens.
But I wonder, like it goes back to what Alexis is saying, like they label those type of females as gold diggers, but is that how the female really thinks? You know what I'm saying? Like maybe she was brought up in a household where the man is supposed to provide for you. Your man is supposed to, you know, pay all the bills and yours
and
as
honestly,
well.
that's a strong down south mentality. So
right, so you can't label that type of, well, you know, I mean, there are some that are strictly, you know, that label, but you can't really, I feel like you can't label people because you don't know their thought process.
Right.
You know?
Some people.
I mean, but that's with everything, and people are judgmental.
Yeah.
Very.
So it sounds like we all disagree with that. That post. So I definitely don't think a man should be the sole
provider
of a household. Like again, it goes back to like men like to be spoiled too, even though they have that pride and that masculinity. Like they want to be thought of too. They like that adventure and that spontaneous. Like they like that as well. So
that's how you get to so many dudes nowadays talking about Valentine's Day, not just for the females because they want stuff too, you know. But
but for we're in a relationship, in a relationship, the Valentine's is just another day. Like
it is.
If you're spoiled all the time, then that one day really, it's like we was at basketball practice on Valentine's Day. You know what I'm saying? All of us. So it's like
holiday, and I want to be spoiled.
Look, that's her favorite holiday.
For real.
I mean, but it's just
get past Valentine's Day because my birthday is
I feel like later. I've become accustomed to celebrating a holiday. I look forward to it, but it's not something that I gotta have. Like,
it's definitely not a deal breaker.
I think that it was a big thing for me when the relationship was new.
It was,
but now
at that moment, you trying to see how much that person truly cares for you. What to what extent will they go on this holiday to show, you know? So it's in the beginning, you in that you try.
It's just in that beginning, but like once you're with that person for a while, it's just like, you know, like we get gifts all the time, we go on trips all the time, and we spend time together all the time. So that one day out the year is just like y'all just posting y'all love for the day, but that's another subject. So
I have a question though when it comes to financial obligations. So with us disagreeing with the post, my next question would be to starting from the beginning of the timeline. So when you first start to date a guy or a female, because we're talking to the audience too, who is obligated to pay for the first date?
I think whoever invited whom out. If I say, do you want to go out, then I'm paying. If he invites me, then he's paying.
That's great.
That's a good thing. I think that prior to a first date, you should have already had conversation, and I guess that goes back to Ty's statement, whoever like does the inviting. But it's like it should already be set in stone whether I'm paying for my own meal or are you paying, like how does that work? Like,
yeah, I mean,
I'm assuming if you invite me on a date, then you are
right. But if they like, go ahead, boo.
I feel like off the break, like the male should just pay for the first date. I mean, I just feel like the guy should pay regardless of who initiated it. Like, let's go on a date or whatever. The male should pay because.
But why? Because
you are the male. Like
that goes back
to the initial
taking care of.
No, you got that mentality.
No, I'm not saying that because I don't have a problem with paying or making sure that we pay, that I pay.
So why should he pay for the first one? Give me a good reason why he should pay for the first one,
and not because he's a man.
Because clearly, you're pursuing. And for most cases, I don't know, but I know in my cases that I was always pursued by the male for the most part. So if you are a male and you're trying to pursue me, then show me that, you know what I'm saying, you worth me taking.
So that goes hand in hand with what Ty's saying then. So if you pursue him though, and you like, oh, I'm at the bar, you should pull up. You like. You don't think that because you invite him to the bar, you can buy a round of drinks and then he can buy the next
round of drinks? Most definitely.
Whoa. If I'm at the bar and I say you should pull up, we're paying separate because that's not a proper invite.
There's not no date.
That's just me meeting you at the bar.
That's true, but if he come into the bar, I'm already sitting at the bar. I already have my drink and my food, and he say, "Let me buy you a drink," and then you can pay for the next round. Like, what's wrong with that?
And I've done that. I went on the first date before. We went to the bar. We sat at the bar. We had food. We had drinks, everything. And then he paid for it or whatever. And then he was like, "You want another drink?" I was like, "Yeah." And then I was like, "I got it." So I paid for it that time. But it was still all in the same setting. Like, so I didn't want him to feel like, oh, she just going to keep sitting drinking and not paying.
So me personally,
I left the tip.
I want to vent in regards to this. Me personally, so anytime I've ever went on a date, like first dates or something like that, I always felt entitled to pay for my own stuff. Like, even if they offer to pay for my stuff, I would be like, no, I got it.
Yes, because you don't want them to feel like you dependent on them, basically, or you're expecting that. Because that's me. Like, I don't want you to think I'm expecting anything from you. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I'm not expecting nothing, you're not expecting nothing. So
that's so funny
because for a while to start to be like, oh, yeah. Like, if somebody offered to pay something, I'd be like, yeah. But for the longest, no, I would just be like, no, I got it. Because it's like, then if you pay for this, what are you expecting from it?
Right. Exactly.
So it's like, on the first go, I don't want it to be you be expecting anything more than this, whatever we're doing, eating setting, drink setting, whatever. So let me just go ahead and pay for it. And it's crazy. It's crazy, but that's how I've always been. Even with my husband, yeah. When we originally started, no, I got it.
Won't get these cheeks right.
Yeah, so y'all know
I'll be expecting them.
Y'all know I always got a story for something. So I think I was probably like 19 or whatever. I went on a date with this guy. We went to the movies, right? So I ordered the tickets. So we ordered the tickets and stuff. And when it was time they gave the total, I moved to the side, right? So he went in and paid for it. But after we left the movies and stuff the next day, he was like, I really didn't appreciate what you did.
He said he didn't appreciate it.
He didn't appreciate it because I ordered the tickets and stuff, and then I moved to the side like you gotta
For
pay
him
for
to
it.
pay, right?
And he was like,
It was like you expected him to pay. Like,
yeah. So it was like
Right.
he was like, I thought that I would have pictured that you would have at least pulled out your card to try to attempt to pay, and then I would have interrupted you and paid for it, but you just moved to the
And
side.
see, that's the thing.
But why
Men
we
be
gotta play
paying
them games?
Exactly.
Men pay attention too. Men pay attention too. But come on, y'all. Don't say don't play them games. Everybody be playing little games. Y'all know y'all be playing mind games in the beginning. You be trying to figure out where they head out without coming out and asking. So don't say they play.
But
the
I'm
same
saying,
kind of
why I
games
gotta-
you play.
Why do I have to play a game like, oh, let me act like I'm paying for it? Because if I pull out my card and act like I'm paying for it, and then you don't offer, I'm gonna be pissed. I don't have time for no games.
Exactly. That's
You
how I
missed the
felt
whole
like.
movie.
That's how I felt like. What was the point of even? You shouldn't
Sitting there
even open your
pissed.
mouth and say nothing.
So
Like, I'm
then, okay. So my next question
It's just
is,
a test. It was a test.
right, but
You
what if I got
what about the man who never offers to pay for anything?
Oh.
I don't want no scrub. A scrub isn't got it.
How do you?
What if you like them though? What if you like them? But
how do you even get there if you?
Conversation.
But how do you even get there if you're always like, I'm gonna pay for my own? So how do you get to the point where? Because by this, I feel like by that point, you all should be able to have a conversation like, okay, we're gonna go XYZ tonight. You got it? Like it should be able to be at a point where you can have that conversation. Like
a comfortable conversation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if he say no, then we have to like go deeper in the conversation. Like, well, I done paid for the last 20 dates, so when you plan to? Like,
I ain't getting the 20, sis.
we ain't getting the 20.
Well, so what if he say he not paying for anything until he your husband?
What?
But how you want to know that? How you know he's telling the truth?
Right? How can you know that he has material?
But is he responsible for paying anything until he is your husband, until he makes that vow to God?
That's a good question. No,
Is he what?
he is responsible.
Is he responsible for paying for anything until he makes that vow to God?
Well, the
What
question is,
rule
what
that?
makes you financially responsible? You have to have that conversation first. Like, you don't go in nothing saying, this is what you're financially responsible for. No, that's a mutual agreement.
Well, hold on. So, hold on. I missed. Maybe I missed something. You said going into the marriage, or
Because
going into,
you made a statement saying about him being what was the statement you made?
Oh, I said, is he responsible for paying prior to
that union?
Right.
So I'm saying, even when you're married, like there's no rule about who's financially responsible for anything.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that comes to having a valid conversation.
Yes.
Like you have to come to a mutual agreement. Like this is what I'm gonna pay for. This is what you're gonna pay for, or we're gonna pay this. Like we sit down and you just map out things. Like you
have to.
You can't be in those mind playing game. Like you can't be in that type of mind frame. You have to really want to be in a relationship and want to like compromise and sacrifice and do all those things to get to those financial standpoints.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
So now,
I agree.
What if you in a situation, but the guy stands firmly on 50-50? Give or take, nothing more, nothing less. You're gonna get 50-50, and that's what you're gonna get.
As long as you're okay with that. Like you are, as a female, you have the right to say, I'm gonna stay or I'm gonna walk away.
Right.
So if this guy say, look, I'm a 50-50 kind of guy, then that's your decision.
He letting you know.
By the time you find that out, you already know.
Exactly. He letting you know exactly what he is. So it's up to you.
You gonna stay. I mean, but honestly, by the time you found out that a guy is 50-50, like completely 50-50, you've seen that, you've noticed that flag, but you kind of bypassed it. But by the time you like really set it in, like, okay, now we about to have to do 50-50 all the way through, you probably already in love and you already got that mentality, like, I got my own anyway. So ain't that okay?
Absolutely.
Like, you pay your own condo, I pay my own condo. Like, we go 50-50 on this water bill. Like, you pay childcare 1 week, I pay childcare the other week. Like, that's, again.
But how did we stray away from what our grandparents, like, how did it become this?
I think
times change.
Because they wasn't comfortable. Grandma,
I think when times
paying 50 or nothing.
I think times change, and then society change, and then people just start having different perspectives.
The economy started going up.
Yeah,
I don't even think it's the economy, honestly. I think it's I think we women start to evolve. For one, become independent. For two, men
we in jobs
totally different from what our grandfathers.
I was about to say, we in positions that's making as much as men, or sometimes more than men. Is the positions as far as jobs change. So yeah,
but
it's women out here.
That's what I'm saying. When I say become more independent, they like started to work. Like, my grandmother never has had a job in her life. Never. Ever. My grandfather is in the grave and he's still taking care of her, like everything, like her bills, her, like, she getting his checks, her tombstone, her grave, everything's already paid for, her house is paid for. Like, you know, that's the mentality that they had back in the day. And my grandmother, 86, 7 years old, never worked and still don't have to. So the men now, I mean, do you really think like they don't have that mentality? Because
but that's because, you know, a lot of times now,
I think our generation, by the time it got to our generation, their parents had already evolved. Like, you know, women started to work, so they became more independent. So I'm not. You don't, in that household, you don't see that your dad is doing everything. You see that that's a team, so that's how you carry it on.
And then it goes with a lot of situations with, like, how in this day and time, especially like with our generation, you know, it was a lot of single mothers. You know, it wasn't men really in the household to even teach that, or teach the guys that, or show boys, you know, the boys that you're supposed to be a provider and stuff like that. So when you in certain situations like that, I think it changes. Like, I was telling one of my friends, I'm like, because she always feel like, well, this guy, he should, if I'm dealing with this person, he should be able to do this for me, he should be able to do that. And I told her that she thinks differently because she was brought up in a household with her mother and father. So she was brought up in a household with her father, who showed her that a man is supposed to take care of you, and the man should provide for you and what it is that you need, and all of your needs and stuff. Even though you work, your money is your money, and the man still provide. You know what I'm saying? And that's how she was brought up. But then you have me in the household who was brought up with a single mother, and if I was to, if I was in a relationship, or if I was to get married, that I would appreciate having that partner to do 50-50, because it was always a struggle. So to know that I got help, or somebody to assist me with something, it would be better versus me feeling like, oh, well, he got to do everything, or he got to do this.
Because you wasn't in that type of household.
Right, so it just depends. I think it just also goes to, what type of household and what type of childhood you had as far as growing up, to determine whether or not if you should be a provider or not. And you got some people who, who did grow up in, and I'm not taking away from a single parent household, because I'm a single parent now, I got boys. So then people who did grow up in a single parent household raising boys, who they did teach, women that did teach their sons, like, oh, you should provide for a woman, like, this is what you should do for a woman, and do this for your woman, and teaching them things. But at the same token, a mother can't teach the child a male everything. So I just think it depends on how you were brought up.
I think it has a lot to do with how you were brought up. But my mom had sons, and she was in a single parent household, and she pretty much taught them that men are providers and things like that. And I think that it stuck with them because they are like what they inspire to be are providers all around. They don't
Right, so that's like with in your household. That's how it went. Your mother was able to teach your brothers, and they learned from it, and they took that, and they they used that as they got older to be providers. But some guys just don't.
No, not every household is like that. I definitely agree with that.
Some guys just don't get it. They don't understand like that. That's what they're supposed to do. And
some guys don't want that mind frame either. Some guys just don't
even if they was in a household.
Yeah. Even if they was in a household like that, they just don't.
I don't think that I don't think, well, I mean, I guess to a certain extent it depends on the household you was brought up in, but I feel like everybody as an adult, like, they pick and choose what values they want to take away. Like, because you could be in, like Alexa said, you could be a single mom and raise boys and tell them what is right, but they can still go out and do exactly what their father did and not be there. Or they can say, look, I want to be better than this, and walk away and be better. So it just kind of depends on you as a person when you become an adult.
Yeah, and it's the same way with females too, to have the mentality like, because sometimes a female could be so lost, and they feel like they have to take care of a man because they missed out on having that father figure around them, or they don't know, so they like, oh, I got this man here, I want to keep him in my life, so I have
and the only way I'm gonna keep him is if I take care
of him financially, and then you got some of the women who feel like, oh, the man got to take care of me. You know what I'm saying? You just got it. And then you got the people who feel like, oh, well, I'm okay with the half and half, or he do this and I do this, or, working together as a team. But it just goes all the way around the board. And I really honestly believe that it starts from within, where you were raised and how you were brought up, and different things that you learned throughout life to get you to that point.
I honestly, like, for me, I wouldn't care if I was 90 and it was a 90-10 ratio. All I really, when it boils down for me, is knowing that if the roles would switch, that you would do the exact same thing for me. I think that's what I probably value the most, having that feeling that even if I have to do the 100% role, even if I have to do this for 5-10 years later, if anything was to happen and the situation was reversed, having that person and feeling 100% knowing that they would do the exact thing for me. I think that's what I value most out of the situation. Not necessarily, I'm not really looking for nobody to take care of me or provide for, or it just goes back to that post. It's just, I totally disagree with it, but just the thought of, making sure that you're with somebody and it's not something that's going in vain for a person. Because people can turn into users. They will use you and until they can't use you no more. So you gotta always distinguish: are you getting used? Are you getting played? Like, it's hard. You really don't know.
As long as you giving, they gonna take.
It sure is. And that's the tough thing. I always trying to tell you, my favorite quote is, why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free? So you got to just be smart as long as there's a person out here who know that they can get X, Y, Z from you, whether it's financially, whether it's whatever, then they don't have to give you more if they're already getting exactly what they need from you. They don't have to give you any more of what what they already given because they're getting what they need. So that they're never going to give more. It's always going to be exactly what it is. And like, I don't know. I would like something to be done to kind of like switch the roles and the mentality that men have, that every woman is interested or looking for somebody who just want to take care of her, because that's definitely not the case.
So
Definitely not.
so kind of picking back on both topics we've discussed so far. How do you distinguish, like when you're starting a relationship, how do you distinguish between love and lust?
Actions.
I guess you would probably go off of a person's actions. I would think so, because if they just so if they just so worried about, sex, and that's the only thing that y'all have that's kind of in common, I would feel like that's more of a lust type of thing.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Not even
But if you can get more into detail and more into a person's brain and talk to them to see where they are and what the goals they have and stuff that they want to accomplish, I think that's more heading towards the love side of it.
And I think that's where we get confused, where like you meet up with a guy and you have like that sexual chemistry, like you're attracted to them sexually versus like how they think and their personality and things like that. That's less, but you're so caught up in that, then your mind start playing tricks and you think it's love, and then now you break it down because I don't want to be bothered with you no more, but it was less.
That's true.
So I think that was it. Okay, well that concludes Ladies' Night for tonight. And we'll see you all next time.
What? Must be lucky on the mic. Bye bye.